Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the Cirque Colors Atelier collection, which I'm probably saying wrong. I've listened to like 3 different pronunciation videos and I'm just going to try to spit it out as fast as I can so you can't tell how wrong I'm saying it. So, 6 polishes here all together. In addition to those, I also have a bunch of jellies to show you. So I have 8 different jelly polishes. They are re-releasing a few. I'll kind of talk about that as I get to them, as well as kind of making some curated sets with the jellies together. So I'll have all that information as I get to the polishes. So 14 polishes all together to show you. I will link the Cirque Colors website down below where you guys can check those out. I also have a coupon/affiliate code with Cirque Colors, which will be on the screen in the description box, and I'll get into the swatches. So these are the boxes that all standard non-special edition Cirque Colors polishes come in. So the first polish is called Twinkle Tweed, and this is a clear-based glitter topper described as multicolored holographic short slice glitters. This is little teeny tiny thin bar glitters, and I love bar glitters so much. This is a really good ratio of glitter to polish base in it, so you get a good amount of glitter without getting a ton of polish base that you don't need on your nails. It has a lot of glitter in it without being thick. It did take a little bit of manipulation to get everything evenly spread out, and I do wish I had worked with it just a little bit more, just to break up some of those concentrations of bar glitter and spread everything out across my nails a little more evenly, but either way, I love this. You can expect these little tiny bar glitters to have the same kind of texture that any glitter polish would. So that is 1 coat of Twinkle Tweed. The next polish is called Mother of Pearl. This is described as an ivory pearl polish with a white silver magnetic pigment. Now this is sheer. It has a really good formula. It applies very easily and very evenly. It also has a very nice strong magnetic effect. This starts to build on the second coat. It stays very even, but there is still some nail line showing. The third coat continues to build well with just a little tiny bit of nail line showing, but I think I actually like this better in 2 coats. I think I like that subtle sheer look to it with 2 coats. So that is 3 coats of Mother of Pearl. I also wanted to give the velvet effect a try, which is an alternative way to wear magnetic polishes if you don't want that harsh stripe across your nails. I've never been very good at this. I feel like no matter what I do, I just make the magnetic pigment disappear. Like it just goes away and I don't know where it goes. I did my best here. I messed with it until I couldn't mess with it anymore and then ended up settling quite a bit by the time I got to the second coat anyway, but you just frame your nail with the magnet and hope for the best. I don't know if I'm being too critical, but I've never really liked how this turns out on my nails, even though I see other people go through the exact same steps and get really good results. I would have liked to have stopped here at 2 coats as well, but I felt like I messed it up and had to do a 3rd coat to redeem myself. So there is 3 coats of Mother of Pearl with my attempt at a velvet nail. The next polish is called Cosplay Lamé, I think. I don't know. You guys gotta stop giving me French words. This is described as a warm toned brushed gold metallic. Great formula on this, great coverage. This one kind of really shocked me because I was under the impression that this was going to be very pearl-like, very chrome-like, because it looks like that in the bottle. And once it goes on your nails, it like melts into this kind of sparkly foil finish, which is, I would have never guessed that from looking at it in the bottle. Like here in the second coat, you can watch the finish change as the polish settles on my nails. It's so cool. There are some really minor brush strokes when it first goes on, but after it settles in, those are completely gone. So that is 2 coats of Cosplay Lamé. The next polish is called Serpentine, and this is described as a deep reptilian green with orange to gold to green iridescent flakies. Good formula on this one. It is in a moderately sheer jelly base, but there are a really good amount of flakies in there to help give some coverage. It took just a few extra touches to my nail to get those flakies spread out evenly while keeping the base even as well, but it wasn't terrible. The second coat builds really well. The flakies give a lot of coverage, so there was just a tiny bit of nail line showing, but I really had to look for it, so I didn't feel like it was worth a 3rd coat. So that is 2 coats of Serpentine, and of course it's a flaky polish and I was in a mood, so I had to put matte top coat on it, which I also really love. The next polish is called Blue Velvet, and this is described as a navy blue velvet with silver magnetic pigment. Great formula on this one. Actually very surprisingly opaque base on this, which I like because once you get the magnet under it and it pulls all that magnetic pigment to the center, sometimes these magnetic polishes can go really sheer where the magnetic pigment isn't, and this one doesn't do that. So it's going to build up really nicely in 2 coats. Whether you magnetize it with a stripe here or do the velvet effect, it's still going to cover your nail line. Longer nails or a much more prominent nail line might want 3 coats, but I was good with 2. So that is 2 coats of Blue Velvet.
And velvet is right in the name of this polish, so I had to at least make an attempt at doing a velvet nail with the magnet as well with this one. I do think it turned out a little bit better, but again, I struggled and I messed with it and I played around and I just felt like it was never quite turning out like everyone else's turn out on the internet. And I still think that maybe I'm being a little too critical, but look at this. Right here, completely gone. No pigment. It just disappeared. I just kept readjusting and messing with it until it was too dry for the magnetic pigment to move anymore, and then I was just kind of stuck with what I had. But I think this one turned out a little bit better. I think it turned out okay. Still not my favorite. I love this look. I just want to know what the trick is. So that is 2 coats of blue velvet with the attempted velvet magnetic effect. And the last polish before we move on to the returning jellies is called Red Bottms, and this is a Louboutin red bottom inspired holographic with scattered holographic effect. So good formula here. The base is pretty opaque. I had a little bit of nail line showing, and obviously it's not like as red as it can be, but I was surprised at how saturated that jelly was. This covered completely for me in 2 coats, and I believe that that scattered holographic in there is a really, really fine glitter, so there is a little bit of texture and it will be a little bit more difficult to remove. So that is 2 coats of Red Bottms. So now we have the jellies. Some of these are returning shades and some of them are pre-existing shades that are just being rearranged into sets along with returning shades. So the first one is Morningtide. This was the base color for the Twinkle Tweed swatch that I opened the video with. This is just described as a sheer French blue jelly. Now these are jellies. They are intentionally sheer. That is the point. So good formula here, and even though it's sheer, it is very even, which is really, really important with the jelly. It has to cover evenly or it's just going to look like garbage. This builds really well. In the second coat, you can start to see that light blue color coming through really well, and it stays very even. The color builds up really nicely. In 3 coats, you can see that really good light blue color coming through, a little bit of nail line showing, and it stays very even. So that is 3 coats of Morningtide. The next polish is Organza, and this is described as a milky peach sheer. So this is obviously sheer on the first coat. There is a bit of color to this, but my nail was pretty red from swatching at this point, so that drowned out whatever subtle color that you might have been able to see on the first coat. By the second coat, you could see that color starting to build up a little bit, and it is also very even, which is the most important feature in a jelly to me. It covers pretty well on that third coat, again with just a nice, subtle, clean-looking sheerness to it. So that is 3 coats of Organza. And the next polish is called Cobalt Jelly, and this is a cobalt blue jelly. Sheer, good color, good formula. Now, Cirque Colors recently changed their brush, so this one came to me with still with the skinny brush on it. Having that skinnier brush made this a little bit more difficult to even out, but it just goes to show you how much that wide flat paddle brush can affect your perception of the formula of a polish. It makes them so much easier to go on, especially ones that have to be very even, like a jelly. This started to build up really well in 2 coats, and even with that skinny brush, it still is a very even jelly. It builds up really nicely in 3 coats, not completely opaque, but it is pushing completely opaque. I could see a little bit of my nail line and that little white mark that I have in my nail, but I really had to look for it. So that is 3 coats of Cobalt Jelly. The next polish is called Indigo Jelly. This is one of the returning polishes, and this is described as a dark blue jelly. Good formula on this one, good color. I felt like this was just slightly uneven on that first coat, even with that wide brush. I messed with it just a little bit extra to try to get it as even as I could. It starts to build well on that second coat, and it does even out quite a bit because it is so much darker of a color, and it covers really well on the third coat as well. I feel like there wasn't that significant of a change though between the second and third coat. And again, just very subtly sheer after 3 coats. So that is 3 coats of Indigo Jelly. The next polish is called NSFW Jelly, and this is just described as a sheer black jelly. This is a very sheer black because what's the point of a black jelly if it's not very sheer? It goes on very evenly. Even though my bottle did have the skinny brush, it still went on really evenly. Great formula here as well. It starts to build up really well on the second coat and it stays very even. I did have to work with it just a little bit more because I have that skinnier brush on my bottle, but it was not in vain. It still evened out fine. In the end, it just takes a little bit more touching the polish with a skinnier brush. And it builds up really nicely in 3 coats to have a nice, subtly sheer, squishy look. So that is 3 coats of NSFW Jelly. So the next polish is called Mustard Jelly. This is another returning shade. This and the next two shades are all part of a tortoise shell set to make tortoise shell nail art, which I do attempt at the end of the swatches. This is described as a camel yellow orange jelly. So good color on this one. Even on the first coat, it is still pretty saturated, very even, good formula. The color starts to build well on that second coat, and it does stay very even. It also obviously stays fairly sheer and builds really well in that third coat, and it does stay, again, subtly sheer. I can see a little bit of nail line and see that little white dot from, I don't know, when I jammed my finger. So that is 3 coats of Mustard Jelly. The next polish is another returning jelly and also part of that tortoise shell set. A lot of these polishes are part of different sets, but this is the one that stuck out to me because I really wanted to try it. And this is described as a reddish brown brick jelly. Obviously sheer, but pretty decent color payoff even on that first coat. And it's very even, again, super important with the jelly. It builds up well on the second coat. It actually builds up really well. It's looking pretty opaque here on the second coat. And it covers almost completely on that third coat with just a little bit of nail line showing. I don't even think you can see it on camera. In person, I had to really look for it, but it was there. So that is 3 coats of Rust Jelly. And the last polish is called Mahogany Jelly, and this is also a returning polish and also part of that tortoise shell set. This is described as a warm toned brown jelly. I don't think you'll be able to hear the storm outside right now, but it is raining pretty heavy and there's the occasional thunder. So if you hear anything weird, that's what that is. So this one is obviously sheer on the first coat. Good formula. I did find it to be just a little bit uneven on the first coat, but it evened out well and the color built up really nicely here on the second coat. And again, built up really well on the third coat. I would go as far as to say this was totally opaque for me. I do think if I looked really closely, I could probably see some nail line, but very negligible. So that is 3 coats of Mahogany Jelly. So because I have all 3 pieces of the tortoise shell set, and tortoise shell nail art has always very much intrigued me, but I've never actually attempted it, I thought I would throw together just on one nail the best that I could. So first I'm going in here with Rust Jelly and just doing a couple dots. I did a couple layers of the dots just to build up the color a little bit, and then went over it with a coat of Mustard Jelly. Then I went back in with Rust Jelly again just to build those splotches up a little bit more and add some dimension. Then I went in with Mahogany Jelly and added a few darker brown splotches. I ended up adding a third one, a couple coats in here because I didn't really like how it looked with 2. I felt like I needed more. I built those brown splotches up with a couple of coats. Then I went in and added another coat of Mustard Jelly, and then I went back and added my third little brown splotch and touched up the little brown splotches that were pre-existing. This is my kind of nail art. I do not have a steady hand. I cannot draw, so I need things that are just like blob random colors on in random order and it ends up looking good, which is exactly what this was. Although then I do tend to second guess whether it's random enough and I worry that I accidentally made it too uniform. Then once everything was done, you want to smooth out those little blobs with a nice coat of top coat, and that's it. It was super easy. I think it turned out really nice. A little bit time consuming, but I feel like if you're sitting down to do nail art, you expect it to be time consuming anyway. So for comparisons, my Cirque Colors collection it's not small, but it's not current. So I used to review for Cirque Colors back in the day, but I hadn't in quite a while up until this past fall. So I have purchased a few polishes here and there, but I don't have any magnetic polishes from them to do comparisons with the magnetics. I don't have many jellies to do comparisons with the jellies, so my comparisons are going to be a little bit thin here. I did want to show the 3 blues all together just because they're kind of all in the same video and I feel like I should show them together. So we have Morningtide here, Cobalt Jelly here, and then Indigo Jelly here. These 2 are actually closer than I thought they would be, but the tone is obviously different. Not dupes, but just a little bit more similar than I expected. Since we're talking about the blues, I thought I would just, this is absolutely pointless because this is purple and blue, but this is Morningtide and then this is Haze Jelly. I think I only had 2 or 3 jellies from Cirque Colors in my collection and this was the closest one that I could find to any of them, so I thought I'd throw them together even though totally pointless. As I was swatching them, I was like, this was stupid. I don't know why I did this, but again, Morningtide and then Haze Jelly. For Organza, I did have Chiffon, which is this jelly here. This is going to be a little bit hard to show you because I don't like the color that this like off-white swatch wheel gives these really sheer nude jellies. So Organza definitely leans more yellow, where chiffon is more pinky peachy. Also, if you can hear the thunder, it's still storming. But I did want to show these to you in the bottle too, because I feel like you can get a better idea of the color without having that off-white swatch wheel backing the color. So this is Organza here and chiffon here. It is very thundery outside, but for Cosplay Lemi, or Lamé, I don't remember. This actually on the swatch wheel ended up looking a bit more chrome than it did on my nails. I feel like it pulled a little bit more foil on my nails. But next to it here, I have a 24 karat, 24K affair. They're both gold. That's about as close as you can get. So Cosplay Lamé goes very, very yellow, and the 24 karat affair is a very gold and has that holographic sparkle throughout it as well. So for red bottoms, I have, what is this? Padparacha, I think. I feel like I remember looking that up way back in the day when I reviewed that collection, but Padparacha here, which is a little bit more pink. Red bottoms right here, which is much more red. And this Padparacha has these like holographic flakies in it versus an actual fine holographic glitter like red bottoms has. Here we have tourmaline, which is a little bit more of a berry color and also has those chunkier holographic flakies in it. Here I have red bottoms again, and then this is ruby. Again, it's the little tiny flakies, and this is a much deeper, almost burgundy red versus a very true bright red.
So Twinkle Tweed is definitely going to be my favorite here. I was so excited about this when I opened up the boxes just to see just a solid bar glitter topper. I love it so much. I know it's kind of a polarizing style of polish, but I've always loved bar glitters. I know they can look really tacky and a lot of people don't like them, but just there's something about bar glitter around the holidays that I'm drawn to it. So this is by far my favorite. Again, I will link the Cirque Colors website down below where you guys can check those out. I also have a coupon/affiliate code with Cirque Colors, so I'll have that on the screen in the description box. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.